Hello. Good morning, guys. One sec.
Good morning, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So, yeah, let me give you a quick brief about this session, about this 10-day geography marathon. So, this is not a session, this is not a geography course actually. This is a course we just recall and revise the topics, whatever we have read. So, don't consider this as a geography course and plan yourself, let the course complete, then we will start reading. No, these 10 days you are actually allocating to the geography. So at the end of this 10-day marathon, you should be thoroughly revise all geographical topics. And after this 10 days, we're going to take up other subjects. Fine. So I'm here to guide you in all ways I can and in all ways you require. So you just make sure that you travel with me with maintaining consistency without stepping down the bus. So how the sessions goes on means first in the first half an hour, as I've already said in the PDF, we are going to discuss the static topics. And then in the second half an hour, we're going to structure few answers, like 2 to 4 answers. And in the entire day, whatever topics we have discussed, no matter what reference you have, be it your coaching notes, be it NCRT, you just revise them. Soon after our class, it may not take more than 1 hour if you have huge notes or max 2 hours. So you just revise them and answer the questions and post it in the group by at least 7. So this is like imparting discipline in you. If you post after 7 p.m. in the night, those answers won't be evaluated. This is for sure. So make sure you write answer writing every day. And what else? After that, I'll provide you a model answers. Don't consider them as the perfect answers, and you are not supposed to save them also. Whatever you have written, if you find any extra points in that model answer, you just add that answers to uh, your paper. And second thing is, at the end of this 10-day marathon, I just posted the PDF yesterday, right? Previous year's questions. So you are supposed to have a complete document having the answers of all those 35 to 40 questions. So that is one target. Second target is to complete revision of static geography. So these are the two targets of this program. So fine. So today let's discuss geomorphology. Is there any questions regarding this? So that is the reason we are having session in the morning, so that you can have entire day to revise whatever we are discussing now and write down the answers. So is there any questions regarding the same? Okay, fine. So let's start. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, fine. So today we are going to start with geomorphology. And today and tomorrow, we are going to revise all topics of geomorphology. First, let me tell you what topics that one has to focus in geomorphology from UPSC point of view, both prelims and mains. So let me put it there one second. So you just parallelly note it down, because there is you may be already having the coaching notes, so there is no point of providing periods here. So first is Earth's interior of the Earth, and next is rock cycle, and next comes geomorphic process. Let me write it. So what are the two types of geomorphic process? Yes. Endogenic.
Exogenic.
Yeah, exogenic. So within endogenic, we have two types. One is catastrophic. The other is diastrophic. So now among this, which one is the sudden force? Which one is the slow force?
Catastrophic is sudden.
Yeah, good. This is sudden. and this is slow force. So in among catastrophic includes volcanism, earthquakes, and diastrophism, we can say, or diastrophic forces, itself divided into two. One is epirogenic and other one is orogenic. So which one is horizontal, which one is vertical? Orogenic is horizontal, epirogenic is vertical. Fine. So vertical means like this, moving up and down. So this part is called what? Horst. And this one is called Garben. Fine. So that is the reason epirogenic forces is also known as continental building forces. And orogenic, you have compressional forces, tensional forces. So which leads to formation of which are also known as mountain building force. Fine. So this is about endogenic, which is further divided into catastrophic and diastrophic. Catastrophic forces, also known as sudden forces, which are like volcanism and earthquakes. Diastrophism, which is further divided into epirogenic and orogenic. Epirogenic is a vertical forces, continental building. Orogenic is horizontal forces, mountain building. Now coming back to exogenic. So it further divided into weathering, erosion, followed by transportation, followed by deposition. And finally, it is mass movement. Fine. Weathering further divided into three types: physical, chemical, and biological. Fine. So among this erosion, transportation, and deposition will be done by an agent called erosional agent. Tell me few types of erosional agents.
Wind.
Yeah, wind. What?
Temperature.
What's that? I'm not getting you. Wind, river, glacier, groundwater, and what else? Yeah, ocean currents too, like tides, we can say. Fine. So this is the erosional agent. So this is about geomorphic process. Fine. So this is topic number 1, topic number 2, topic number 3. This includes these things. And next topic is theories, which talks about distribution of oceans and continents. There are three important theories: continental rift theory, seafloor spreading, and plate tectonics. And after after completion of discussing these topics, I'll just tell you a few important words. I'll explain you regarding few important words like geosyncline, isostasy, geomagnetism, and paleomagnetism. Fine. Sometimes, no matter we we complete reading a geomorphology, in just because we don't know about this terminology, we just won't attempt that question. So that is the reason I'll explain you this terminology. Fine. So if you are reading geomorphology, these are the topics you are supposed to cover. Fine. These are the important topics you are supposed to cover. If you sit for a day, you can easily complete this one. So soon after my class, go to what book is that? Class 11 Fundamental of Physical Geography, and read that geomorphology unit in that, so that it will be easy for you to understand tomorrow's class also. And today, so we are discussing all these things in 2 days, today and tomorrow. So today we are going to discuss Earth's interior, rock cycle, and this complete endogenic, which includes volcanism and earthquakes, and exogenic process. Mein today we are going to discuss weathering and mass movement. So, and for tomorrow, we are discussing these erosional agents. For each erosional agent, we are going to discuss its erosional landforms and its depositional landforms. Fine. So this is for day 2, and this theory is also for day 2, and terminology is also for day 2. Fine. So today let's quickly start a session. Can I erase this?
Wait, ma'am.
Okay. Make sure you note it down quickly, or else we're gonna miss the topics.
Done, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So everyone done? Yes. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So see, if I'm explaining something, it doesn't require for you to note down all the things. You may already have something, no? Like if I say about the interior of the earth, you might have that before itself, the structure and all. So it's not required. You just take up that note and you just refer it. It's more than enough. Fine. So first is we can say interior of Earth or Earth's interior. So now let us draw a cone ice cream now. Fine. So what is this?
Crust.
Yeah. Then comes, this is mantle. And this is core. Fine. So firstly will come from top to bottom. Above crust you have what? Oceans. And the other side you have land. And you, I'm sorry. God. Okay, good. Wait. Fine. So this is crust. Fine. So there is, first comes continental crust, and then comes there is a thin layer of oceanic crust. Fine. This is continent crust. So thin layer between which demarcating the oceanic crust and continental crust is known as Conrad discontinuity. Fine. And next comes this, the boundary between what? Crust and the mantle is called what? Mohorovic discontinuity. And the boundary between the mantle and the core is called Gutenberg or Gutenberg, whatever you call discontinuity. Fine. And within mantle, it is further divided into lower mantle and upper mantle. So this boundary is called Rappetley discontinuity. Rappetley's discontinuity. Fine. So this is lower mantle. Sorry, this is upper mantle. This is lower mantle. And similarly, you have outer core and inner core. And this is called Lehman discontinuity. Fine, now another important concept is the crust part and the uppermost upper mantle. See, this uppermost upper mantle layer and the crust part is called lithosphere. And below that, see, lithosphere also includes mantle, upper mantle area, and below that upper mantle area there is like semi-solid type. It is not completely liquid, but it is semi-solid type, on which the crustal plates move, which is called asthenosphere. Fine. So crust is solid. So here solidity quite reduces, and here it is again solid, which is mantle is again solid, and outer core becomes liquid, and inner core is solid state. And composition, coming to the composition, in crust it is Cr, silicon and aluminium. In mantle is silicon and magnesium, and core it is nickel and iron. Fine, this is about interior of Earth. So one thing I'll discuss here itself, it will be clear to say it here. What does that mean? So seismic waves, we have P waves and S waves, right? So tell me which is that wave which can travel only in solids?
P wave.
I said the wave which can travel only in solids, only in solids.
Is it S wave, ma'am?
Yeah, it's S wave. So S wave can only travel in solids, right? So it can only travel till what? Till here only. And after this, because outer core is liquid, it cannot travel towards core. So for S waves, this becomes shadow zone. Whereas P waves can travel in solid liquid also. But what happens in liquid? Because of low density, its velocity reduces. However, it can travel through this core part also. Fine. I'll again discuss while discussing the earthquakes, but it is clear to like show it here. That is the reason I said. So done with interior of Earth.
Yes.
Okay, it's better to have your notes with you so that it is easy to recall and add points instead of drawing it from start. Fine. Next comes in the endogenic part. Among catastrophic forces, we're gonna have volcanism. Fine. Tell me in brief, like in layman terminology, what is volcanism means?
Eruption of magma from Earth interior.
Yeah, that's it. Eruption of magma from Earth's interior. Through a vent, we can say. Fine. So whenever you see the volcanism or volcanoes, kind of, if there is a question of recent eruption of magma somewhere, you talk about that, then you just start with a definition of this volcanism, saying that it is a catastrophic force of endogenic geomorphic process, and you can explain this process. This becomes your introduction, quick introduction in the exam. Fine. So to quickly discuss the structure of the volcano, you'll have the central pipe here and the dome structure, and you have vent here. Fine. So this is, we can say, central pipe which supplies magma to the vent, and this becomes volcanic dome. Okay, so one important topic here to discuss where many people get confused is, see, if higher the silica, higher the viscosity. Viscosity means what? Stickiness?
गाढ़ापन, yeah.
Stickiness. So higher the silica, higher the viscosity, which means if it has higher silica, it won't flow like this. It won't flow like this. It just build up like a dome here, like this. So it becomes the highest volcanic dome because it is high sticky. So if it is high silica, highly sticky, which means high viscosity, it won't flow like this. So that is the reason it forms domes. Fine. The other reason is higher the silica, the volcano is acidic volcano. Fine. Silica means viscosity, and higher the silica, it is acidic. Lower the silica, it is basic. So these are the questions repeatedly asked in what? In prelims to test your concepts. Fine. So now let's talk about what? Quickly talk about the types of volcanoes. Can I erase this? Yes? Yes, I'm doing it.
Yes.
Fine. Okay, fine. So based on the activeness of the volcano, they are divided into two types. One is active, other is what? Dormant. Yeah, good. And last one is extinct volcano. So this erupts recently, like frequent eruption, we can say. So this is not frequent, but there is a hope of eruption. And this one, no eruption at all. Fine. And this is based on what? This is based on activeness. Now let's discuss based on intensity. So tell me what are those types based on intensity? Hawaiian type, Strombolian type. Remember, say something more, three other. Volcanian, Vesuvius, and Pelian type. Fine. So what happens as we're moving from Hawaiian to Pelian type, intensity increases. Pelian type is more dangerous volcano. Fine. And this is what? This is based on the intensity of volcano. Now let's discuss based on the shape the volcano forms after eruption. Fine.
Ma'am, can you please pronounce once again intensity wise?
Okay. Hawaiian, Hawain, Hawaiian. Then comes Strombolian, which we can found near Mediterranean Sea. And next is Volcanian, Volcanian. Then comes Vesuvius, Vesuvias. Next comes Pelian, Peelian. If you haven't read this, you just note it down and you must Google it. Fine. There is nothing to refer it. This is what they'll ask. This is the maximum information you can, but you may get few examples of this, or else location of this Hawaiian in Hawaiian Islands, like that. Fine. And next comes based on what? Based on composition. First one is we can discuss acid lava cone. Fine. Tell me whether will it have high silica or low silica?
High silica, acidic in nature.
Yeah, it's rich silica. So it forms high domes. With a steep slope, we can say. Larger domes with steep slope. Whereas with basic silica, that is not the case. If we consider basic silica, it will be like this, like Deccan traps we see. It just flow like this. the erupted lava. Fine. It just flow like this. And next comes composite cone. I'll write it here. So here what happens, there is no uniformity in the eruption of the particles. Fine. So first time what it erupts. So first time, suppose it erupts, let's say it erupts magma. Fine, it gets deposited. And next time it won't erupt magma. It erupts some dust particles, some pyroclastic particles. And next time some other particles. So there is no uniformity. There will be a like alternative layers, we can say. So we call it as what? Composite volcano. Fine. And next comes what? Last one, which is parasitic cone, we can say. Parasite volcanic cone. So in which what happens? See, there is an eruption of magma, but what happened here? The vent which was there, this was closed because of solidification of magma. Fine. So this is the dome. So now there is a flow of magma upward, but here it is sealed. So what this do? It will pass through the weak layers. It will search for weak layers and it will erupt through that layers. Fine. And here there will be the formation of small volcanic domes. So that is the reason it is called parasitic cone. Fine. So here, So here it is the parent cone, and those are like offshoots, we can say. Fine. And one more thing is, this is volcano, right? This is called crater. So sometimes what happens, the erupted magma will blow and falls within itself, within that crater itself. So which leads to widening of this crater. Fine. You're getting it?
Yes.
Okay. So this widened crater is called caldera. That is the terminology. Fine. Small one, it is called crater. Now let's get into the intrusive landforms of volcano. So can I erase this?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. Thank you for being fast. So now what we can say? So intrusive, we can say intrusive landforms. Intrusive means what happens? Suppose this is a volcano. Magma eruption is taking place, but it is unable to break out this crust and come out to erupt and form a volcanic dome. Instead, they'll get solidified in the interior of the earth itself, which leads to formation of intrusive landforms. We can say intrusive landforms. So this intrusive landforms itself is divided into two types. One is hyperbasal and other is plutonic. So plutonic are formed deep interiors of earth, whereas hyperbasal, they form interior of the earth, but when there is an erosion of top layer, these landforms gets exposed. Exposure of landforms due to erosion of top layer. Fine. So that is the difference. Now let's quickly get into these deep interior landforms, or mix of both, we can say too. So now tell me the names of the landforms. Quick. There's no participation of yours today. Yeah. Now tell me the names.
Hill, dike,
yeah, dike. Next.
Batholith, Lopolith,
Yeah.
Locolith.
Okay. Lapolith. And then Locolith. You can say Lacolith. And Batholith is done. Facolith, we can say. And then is self. So now let's quickly draw one by one. So one is dikes, where magma gets solidified like a wall inside. So consider this as a cross sectional. Fine. So magma is getting what? Magma is solidifying in the form of a wall. So it is like this wall you consider within inside, like 3D you assume. Fine. Next is batholith. It is like, okay, let me do it like this. Consider this as a top surface, and this is the interior of the earth. Fine. So this is dike. Fine. And we can say this is batholith. And next, what else? Yeah, here we can have laccolith. But the difference between laccolith and batholith is in laccolith you have a central pipe kind of which supply magma to this. So this is dike, this is laccolith, this is batholith. Fine. And next you have a saucer kind of thing like concave. This is called lapolith. And when magma gets deposited in the form of anticline and the syncline, it is called phacolith. And when magma comes and deposited in kind of like horizontal layers, like this, horizontal layers, then it is called sills. If it is thin, it is called sheets. If it is thick, it is called sills. Fine. So these are the intrusive landforms formed out of magma. So batholith, laccolith, lapolith, dike, phacolith, thin sheet. Done. This is with volcanism. Let me know if I am going fast. Can I erase this?
Ma'am,
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone said.
explain dike again.
You want me to draw it again? I didn't get you.
Yeah.
Okay. Is this not clear?
No,
Okay, fine. I'll do it.
only dike.
Okay, fine. I'll do it. No issues. Meanwhile, someone explain me about rock cycle. Come on. Meenakshi there? Preetham?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Tell me about rock cycle.
Intermediary stage, there will be intermediate stage, and then sedimentary metamorphic stage.
Okay. What is the first stage? You tell me that.
I'm not remembering the name exactly.
So when the rock emerges from, when magma solidifies, what type of rock it gets formed?
Yes.
Yeah, it's igneous.
Yes.
Igneous, whatever. Okay. So when that gets weathered and eroded, what kind of rock will form?
Sedimentary.
Okay. So upon high heat and pressure, what sedimentary rock leads to?
Metamorphic.
Good. So will sedimentary leads to the formation of igneous rock? Think.
Yes, I guess.
How come sedimentary leads to the formation of igneous? Don't say as its origin itself igneous. That is the reason we can go back. That's not the logic. One, two. What else is there? Yeah. Is this fine diagram? Is this clear?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Okay, now quickly see, we are running out of time, I guess. So we are more to discuss today rock cycle, earthquakes, weathering. So, okay, fine. So let us quickly discuss rock cycle. So yeah, you can refer your notes while I'm explaining, or you can listen to it as you wish. So first, when the magma comes up, it cools and solidifies. It leads to the formation of igneous rock. Fine. This igneous rock, on weathering and erosion, leads to sediment, sedimentary rocks, we can say. Actually, we can say first it is sediments itself. It's better to say sediments. Fine. These sediments, upon compaction and consolidation, leads to formation of sedimentary rocks. These sedimentary rocks, upon heat and pressure, leads to formation of metamorphic rocks. Fine. And finally, metamorphic rocks on melting forms magma. And when it cools, it forms igneous rocks. So this is one kind of cycle. So now let's see what are intermediaries in this. Sedimentary rocks on weathering and erosion again form sediments. Igneous rocks upon heat and pressure forms metamorphic. Metamorphic rocks on weathering and erosion also form sediments. Fine. So from this we can easily conclude two things. What are they is any rock upon weathering and erosion leads to the formation of sediments. And any rock upon heat and pressure, application of heat and pressure, if it undergoes heat and pressure, it leads to formation of metamorphic rocks. So those are the two statements we can directly conclude from this diagram. Fine. This is known as rock cycle. Now let's get into earthquakes. So tell me a layman definition of earthquake.
Shaking up the earth.
Shaking up the earth, fine. Why shaking up the earth?
Due to some interior disturbance in the earth's core.
Okay, and that leads to release of energy.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let's go to earthquakes. Some deformation at Earth's interior, we can say in Earth's interior, releases energy, creates tremor, which passes through the different layers of the earth and reaches the surface in the form of waves called seismic waves, which are of three types: P waves, S waves, and L waves. Yeah, we can also call surface waves. These two are body waves as they travel through the body. When these body waves come and interact with the surface, leads to the formation of surface waves, which are highly reflective. Fine. So now it's not important, but let's discuss as we are discussing it. Earthquakes, they are, depending upon the causes, factors causing it, they are divided into tectonic earthquakes, volcanic earthquakes, collapsing earthquakes, like collapsing or in the coal mines, we can say, which may disturb the surface, like coal mines at the underneath 200-300 meters below the earth,
Yes,
collapse at that. Fine. Next is explosion type, and next comes reservoir induced. So these are kind of types of earthquakes, depending upon the factors causing earthquakes. Fine. Now let's get into, one more important concept is it has two things. What? One is magnitude and other is intensity. Now tell me the difference between these two. Yeah. Which one is about regarding the damage caused by the earthquake? Which will measure that? Intensity or
Intensive.
magnitude?
Intensity.
Yeah.
Intensive.
Yeah. It's intensity. So which measures the destruction or the damage caused by earthquake. Whereas magnitude, it depends upon the we can say the energy released, we can say, based on the Richter scale measurement. Fine. So this is quick things about earthquake. Now let's see shadow zones of P waves and S waves. So can I clear this?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. So one is P waves. Tell me, these are longitudinal waves or S waves? Sorry, transverse waves. So these are longitudinal waves. Fine. So what is longitudinal wave? Suppose this is a wave. This is seismic wave. Fine. So this longitudinal particles in the longitudinal wave, they will vibrate in the direction like front and then back, and then front and then back. So this leads to what? Squeezing. And we can say folding. Folding is not the correct word, we can say. So
Compression.
Yeah, compression and dilation, right? Squeezing or compression or dilation of rocks. Right? So regarding the S waves, we can say, regarding the X waves, those are transverse waves. So now what happens if this is a wave, the particles vibrate perpendicularly like this. So this leads to what? We can say what? Vertical movement of the rocks takes place. So this is like conceptual questions which can be asked in prelims. Vertical movement of rocks takes place. Fine, now let's get into shadow zones. The first is P-wave shadow zone. So first, this is core and crust. Two waves will pass us. So let us consider this is mantle and this is crust. Sorry, this is core. Now the P wave, it travels. One second. Yeah. So it travels in the crust for sure and also mantle. But what happens when it passes through core? Due to the change in the medium, it gets refracted. Right? So it gets refracted. So results in the change in the direction. So though it passes through all layers, there is a certain region where P waves are not noticed, which is this region. Here P waves are not noticed. The region where the waves are not noticed are called shadow zone. Fine. And for P waves, it is 105 degrees to 145 degrees. Fine. And here 105 degrees to 145 degrees. Now you are supposed to tell me what is this 105 and 145, and with reference to what we are measuring this 105 degrees and 145 degrees. Yes. Is it focus? From the focal point, we are measuring this. Focus and focus is a point where there is a release of energy has taken place, which lies at interior of Earth's interior, with Earth's interior. Now tell me, what is that point where the waves first meet the surface?
Hypocenter.
Epicenter.
It's epicenter, right? Focus is also known as
Okay.
hypocenter.
Okay.
Fine. So this is about what? P waves. And this is the shadow zone of P waves. Now let's get into S waves. So S waves may what happens? The wave not at all enters into core part. It just travels. That's it. So for this entire region will be a shadow zone. So from this we can say the shadow zone of S waves is greater than that of P waves.
P-
So that is one conclusion we can make. Fine. So if from these merging these two figures, we can also say that it is between 105 degrees and 145 degrees. We don't notice any kind of waves. Fine. So this is about earthquakes. Now let us read about weathering, which includes physical, chemical, and biological weathering. Tell me how will be the physical weathering takes place? So we are done with endogenic. So now we are going to exogenic, in which we have three. One is one is weathering, and other is erosional transportation and deposition, and other is mass movement. Fine. This one we are going to discuss tomorrow. So today we are dealing with weathering. So weathering itself has three things. One is physical, and other is what? Chemical, and biological. Physical is also known as mechanical. Fine. Now tell me how this physical weathering may take place. How? Quick.
The wind blows the terms of the surface. Eventually,
Yeah.
it gets a landform is formed.
Yeah, that's true. What in arid areas, the wind flows fastly. So in a rock, it creates blowouts kind of. Fine, by hitting hardly. So if increase in the blows will weaken the structure. So this leads to weathering. Is that the same concept you're talking about? Okay. So so this is one concept, and the other concept is what happens in the rock between rock sediments. There lies a moisture. So during nights, this rock, what they will contract. Sorry, they'll expand because of this moisture. Fine. So during days, what happens? During daytime, I mean to say, this moisture gets evaporated. Fine. So this leads to contraction. So this subsequent contraction, and then again expansion, and then again contraction leads to exfoliation. So this is the terminology. So exfoliation means because of this, it will take it off its outside layer. So now this is its outside layer. It will take it off this. So now this will be the present rock after exfoliation. And that is about physical weathering. Fine, next comes biological weathering. So what happens in biological weathering means one is the fauna or animals. They will loosen the rock particles. Fine, because of we can say grazing or kind of they'll walk pasturing and all. And second thing is the rock, see, suppose this is a tree, these are the rocks. These, sometimes these roots penetrate through the rocks, fine. And the other way is these roots passes between two rocks, and these roots have what? Moisture. Sometimes it has moisture, sometimes no. So this leads to, when it has moisture, then the gap increases between these two. Fine? Are you getting what am I saying? See, here it is entirely packed up. Fine? So when it has moisture, it is pressing these two rocks against these rocks. Fine? When it doesn't have moisture, it gives gap so that this two rocks, see, this is a tree with moisture, we can say. Fine. So this is compressing this because this tree is expanding. These tree's roots are expanding. These are other rocks around it. Fine. Now what happens without moisture? It gives space so that these rocks will take its original place. Fine. So because of it, what happening? Compression and expansion is taking place. So if these things frequently happen, this leads to weathering of rock. Are you able to understand what I want to say, what I'm trying to say?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine, then good. So that's it with what? Physical and biological. Next, get into chemical. So in chemical weathering, we have few types like carbonation, and then comes hydration, oxidation, fine, and we can also say reduction. Fine. So these are just, we can say, chemical methods. When rock reacts with what? Carbonate and bicarbonate, and also CO2 from the atmosphere, it leads to carbonation. The reaction leads to what? Chemical change in the rocks, which further leads to weathering of the same. And the hydration is the interaction of rock with the water, and followed by weathering. And same thing with oxidation with respect to oxygen. So these are kind of subparts of chemical weathering. Fine, that's it with weathering. Now next comes mass movements. So the difference between the mass movements and general erosion is that, so this mass movements, here is the rock. Fine. So mass movement, the important element is gravitational force. Fine. So one thing one has to remember is in mass movements, weathering increases this movement. But we cannot say that weathering is required, which means weathering is prerequisite. For mass movement, this is a wrong statement. Fine. This is not mandatory to perform mass movement. However, if weathering happens, the rock's strength reduces, so it can quickly roll down because of the gravity. Fine. So mass movement is just like rolling down of these rocks because under the influence of gravity. So that's it with mass movement. So we have done with today's agenda, and tomorrow we are going to deal with theories and erosion agents. 5 erosion agents, their erosional and depositional landforms. Fine. So let's get into the second part of our course, which is regarding answer writing. Please open the PDFs or the printouts if you have taken the question paper sheet. Let us go slowly to assure consistency. So today we are going to discuss only 2 answers. So make sure that you write and submit in the group till 7 p.m. Fine. So now, yeah, someone read out the first question, please. 2019 question number 4. Yes. Rishabh there? Rishabh? Okay, fine. Someone could please read that.
Assess the impact of global warming on coral life system with examples.
Okay, fine. So now tell me how to answer it. Fine. So it has two things: impact of global warming on coral reef system, coral life system. Fine. So now the point is, one thing one has to remember: he asked impact, not effect. Fine. So impact means you're supposed to write both positive and negative. Now tell me what has to be the intro, and then body, and then conclusion. Start. What should be the intro for this?
What is the coral life?
About coral life?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. It's more than enough. Like, you just find a keyword and write definition of it. Okay. So we can say corals or submarine features form due to the accumulation and compaction of line secreting organisms, which are coral polyps. Fine. So next we can quickly get into the body. So what that body includes? Both first you write negative impacts and then positive impacts. Fine. So now tell me, see, we won't find or we cannot recall at that moment much positive moments. So as it is a 10-mark question, so what we do is, let's write negatives 5 points and positive 2 points, and conclusion may we can add way forward 2 points. So overall we can, in 10 marks answer, we are supposed to write 8 to 10 points. Fine. Now tell me any 5 impacts of global warming on negative impacts of global warming on coral life. Quick.
Coral bleaching.
Good. And so he asked what the question has asked with examples, he said. So it is not required that every statement should be followed by the examples, but make sure that you provide at least 3 to 4 examples. So for coral bleaching, what we can say? So global warming led to 60% of coral bleaching in Maldives. In 2016. Fine. Now tell me next. What else? What else? Okay, tell me the effects of global warming. Temperature increases. What happens? Sea level increases? Yeah. Someone is saying, go on. Sea level increases. So the algae which provides food for corals cannot receive sunlight. So this is one way again related to coral bleaching. Fine. And leads to oceanic acidification because of high levels of CO2. This CO2 does not leave, we can say, carbon ions to generate carbonate ions, which is very much required for the coral polyps, as they are built up on calcium carbonate skeletons. Fine. So make sure that you use this terminologies in a very frequent way. One is coral bleaching. Next is, we can say, coral erosion because of ocean's acidification. What else? Yeah. This answer writing is for you. This is not a codes. Come on. Next 2. Yeah, someone is trying to say something. Well, say generally no. Yeah.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. More points, please.
Oceanic life.
Oceanic life? What?
Means fishes and all.
It's it's about coral life, right? Global warming and coral life. How fish is related.
Okay. Sorry.
We can write, so when you're running out of points, we can take, like normal points. It increases vulnerability to the diseases, coral vulnerability to diseases. So what diseases? This one you are supposed to know. What diseases? There are few diseases that coral are infectious to, which is white burden disease and black burden disease. Black band disease and white band disease. Fine. And other point is global warming increases the frequency of cyclones and marine heat waves. As corals live in narrow range of temperature, they cannot survive these conditions. What else? Yeah, that's it. And no, apart from this, you're supposed to include few more parts and make your answer writing effective. So what can be the conclusion now? Sorry, positive. So positive points are, with increase in the temperature, it opens up the temperate areas to the coral reefs. Temperate areas to the coral reefs. And the other point is what happens with, increase in CO2, there is a negative point. On the other hand, we can say to the threshold, if CO2 increases, it increases the algae growth. Algae is important, which algae is the one which provides food for what? Corals. In return, corals provide what? Shelter to the algae. So algae growth will enhance the strength of the coral. So this is two positives. Fine. Now tell me what can be the conclusion. Yeah, you are supposed to say this now. Yeah, am I audible?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Okay, fine.
We must take some initiative to reduce global warming and climate changes so that it doesn't affect more.
Yeah, when we are writing intros, these layman things work. But to enrich your answer, to make your answer different from other answers, you are supposed to include certain reports, SDG goals, kind of. So now, how can we make this conclusion effective? Intro, it can be like, layman definition, what you have understand by the terminology of corals, it's fine. Now let's make a coral a kind of, to enrich, we use coral conclusion to enrich our answers. So how can be the conclusion? So we can say that according to the UNESCO, corals of all 29 reef containing World Heritage Sites, corals of all 29 reef containing heritage sites will perish by 2100 if global warming continues at same rate. Fine, we can write this thing. Continues at same rate. After this, we can write that, so this is the reason time has come to focus on SDG goals. It is better to remember all SDG goals. If you can't, it's okay. Whenever we are discussing, I'll just mention the respective SDG goals. You just try to impart them in other answer writing also, so that while writing them or using them repeatedly, you can remember them. So implementing SDG goals, 13 is climate action and 14 is life below water. And implementing Paris climate deal. Fine. And apart from that, we can also mention that there are certain institutes like Global Coral Reef Alliance and Coral Restoration Foundation, which are doing a very good job. Coral Restoration Foundation, which are doing a very good job. So now it's time for the government and the people or community to share, or we can say what, to participate in protecting this marine resource. Fine. So this will enrich your answer in some way by adding these facts and kind of data. Fine. So now you search it, and if you find anything, you just add to this. And before that, I forgot to say something. So whenever I say about terminology, I'm sorry. So today we are discussing corals, right? Now keep a separate book where you have to write intro. If you find corals in the intro, what you are supposed to write in the exam, like 3 lines intro you make, and what will be the conclusion of that. Fine. So make a separate short book or such, write this term and what intro you want to write for that and what conclusion you are supposed to write for that. Fine. So revise that repeatedly. So it is like, preparing yourself for the mains before you can see the question paper itself. Fine. Done with this question. Let's move to the next question. Yes. Okay. Yeah, someone please read the second question, please. Question number 5.
Discuss the causes of depletion of mangroves and explain their importance in maintaining coastal ecology.
Yeah. So generally what we think, let us write first significance, and then let's be positive, and then let's go for causes of depletion, and then what? Way forward, or yeah, measures we can say. But please do not follow this. Just follow the sequence of the question. What he have asked, just go on answering those parts. Fine. So in this first, he asked about the causes of depletion and then significance. So you please follow the same. Don't use creativity in this. So that's what I advise you to do.
Okay.
So fine. Now, yeah, go on. How to structure this? What has to be the intro now?
About mangroves introduction, introducing the mangroves.
Yeah, say something about mangrove. Okay, fine. So it's a salt tolerant organism. We can write something in the layman terminology, salt tolerant vegetation.
मैम इस क्वेश्चन को अपने से अटेम्प्ट करने दीजिए, ये स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड क्वेश्चन.
हाँ ठीक है. नहीं, okay fine. Okay fine. We'll just discuss the structure in that case. Fine.
Yes मैम.
Okay, intro होता है, mangrove का definition. And now tell me causes होता है. थोड़ा causes तो बताओ. चलो 3 बताओ. 3 causes you tell me.
Causes में मैम सी लेवल राइजिंग हो गया.
Okay.
फिर ग्लोबल वार्मिंग भी, नो सी लेवल राइजिंग में तो ग्लोबल वार्मिंग, और एक इन्वेजिस एलियन स्पेसीज की वजह से मैनग्रोव्स का डिस्ट्रक्शन हो रहा है और उसके स्थान पे कुछ और आ जा रहे हैं.
Okay, very good. One more.
Lack of water.
That's good. Yeah, lack of water. Because why lack of water from rivers?
क्या मैम?
Because of damming. Why lack of water? Because of damming. Damming of rivers. ठीक है, चलो significance बताओ. 3 बताओ बस. चलो 2 बताओ significance. ठीक है, then you write for yourself. I won't say this. 2 बताओ.
Shock absorbers.
Yeah, that's good. Shock absorber from cyclone, natural calamities. And next?
They work as the ecotone between.
Yeah, ecotone we can say, and ecotone which leads to edge effect. What is edge effect?
वहां पे मतलब ज्यादा स्पीसीज और फ्लोरा और फूना होते हैं, कुछ ऐसा.
हाँ. So it will be having much diversity when compared to marine,
Yes.
either side, and terrestrial. Fine. So then you can write same thing. Conclusion जो अपने coral, whatever we have written in the corals, you just repeat the same, replacing corals with mangroves, and don't write that what data and foundation. You can write community participation जरूरी है. Same SDGs you can use. Fine. Life on water we can use. So yeah, and again for this in the same notes, write mangroves and what definition you want to write in the exam, and conclusion what you want to write in the exam. जो भी data भी है वो भी लिख लो in that notes. Fine. And you are supposed to provide me your answers by 7 p.m. so that I can give you feedback. Done?
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. That's it with today. See you tomorrow. Have a nice day.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, fine. All right.